million Venezuelans are eligible to vote in Sunday's referendum.
And Venezuela has made its decision that on December 3, it will decide about the Essequibo, Guyana.
Yesterday, December 3rd, 2023, Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, allowed voters to vote in a referendum in defiance of the International Court of Justice ruling, which was handed down 3 days ago. In a decision regarding provisional measures to curb Venezuela's aggression towards Guyana, the ICJ ordered Venezuela to refrain from taking any action that would be considered an act to aggravate or prolong the border dispute between itself and the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. You are watching the final takeaway. Before we dive in, welcome to this brand new channel. We're only a few days old. I think it's about a week now. And we're hitting it off. We have almost 200 subscribers. I thank you so much if you are one of those people who subscribed and jumped into this community and trust the content that we are providing. Please take a few seconds to hit the subscribe button below if you haven't subscribed yet, and then hit the bell icon. This way you will get a ping the moment new videos are dropped on this channel. The bravado dictator, we're talking about Nicolas Maduro here. He went ahead and pretty much ordered citizens to vote in an unprecedented referendum. Never happened in the history of Venezuela, voting to snatch another country's territory. Maduro even influenced how they should answer the 5 questions that are placed on the ballot. However, much to the president's chagrin, only trickles of people turned out to vote. This is despite some 20 million people being eligible to cast their votes. This is according to leading news outlets and verified by Reuters, which had deployed witnesses in Venezuela to track the developments on referendum day, which was yesterday. Reuters witnesses visited voting centers across the country. However, they reported that, and I'm quoting here, many had few or no people waiting in line. Guys, the math isn't adding up. According to reports from Venezuela's Electoral Authority President Elvis Amoroso, at least 10.5 million votes were cast for yes. Up to press time, we don't know if it's 10.5 million single yeses, because remember, the ballot had 5 questions on it. So we don't know if 10.5 million people, or if it's 10.5 million single yeses, or whether it's 10.5 million people who voted yes, or whether it's 10.5 million people who voted yes for all 5 questions. However, Amoroso told Reuters, that's this international news agency, that all questions passed with more than 95% approval. Let's do a bit of math here. An estimated 20 million people were eligible to cast their votes. Only 10.5 million votes were cast. Of the small number of voters who came out to vote, there have to be people who voted against this barbarous plan to grab the land of another sovereign country. Yet, Amoroso is claiming a 95% approval rate on all questions. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. So what is Venezuela's December 3rd referendum all about? If you are now following this story and you'd like to learn more, I will explain some here, but you can look to the top right corner of your screen. There's a link that will take you to a video that I've uploaded where I explained what this planned annexation of Essequibo, which Venezuelans call Guyana Essequibo, what this is all about, what is driving this plan. Venezuelan voters were asked to answer yes or no to these 5 things the country should do. Number 1, reject the 1899 Paris Arbitration Award that settled the border dispute in favor of Guyana. Number 2, reject the jurisdiction of the International Court of Justice. In other words, let's not worry about the ICJ, they can tell us what to do. Number 3, only support the 1966 Geneva Agreement as the only legally binding document to solve the Guyana-Venezuela border dispute. If you have been following the history on this issue, the 1899 Paris Arbitration Award decided that Guyana owns Essequibo. Later on, Venezuela did not agree to this decision. Later on in 1966, there was the Geneva Agreement where Guyana and Venezuela agreed that they will use the contents of the agreement to determine how to solve the dispute. Also, very important, Venezuela does not honor the 1899 award. It says it's invalid. It tells its citizens that the 1966 Geneva Agreement nullified or invalidated or made the 1899 Paris Arbitration Award null and void. It wiped it out. That's their view. But Guyana is holding on that the 1899 award that gave Essequibo to Guyana as part of its territory is legally binding, and it's a full and final settlement. The fourth question, or the fourth thing Venezuelan voters were asked to do or answer yes or no to, or answer yes to, because Maduro pretty much tell them they should answer yes, is to oppose Guyana's decision to grant oil concessions in the disputed region. As you know, Guyana hit oil in 2015, and all of a sudden, as people will say, little old Guyana, little poor Guyana became a worldwide name. In fact, according to reports, economic reports, Guyana was one of the fastest growing oil nation last year, and it's on a pathway to keep climbing for its economy and its GDP to grow as they make more and more oil discovery. Also, Maduro became green-eyed, envious, and greedy, and reignited the border dispute after he learned that ExxonMobil is either agreed to or is in talks for an agreement for an oil concession that can see Guyana profiting to the tune of $2 billion, I think it is. So naturally, Guyana's neighbor became envious, and it wants to take the oil-rich territory away from them. And number 5, the fifth question, the fifth thing voters are asked to answer yes or no to is should Venezuela take Essequibo, put it on the Venezuelan map, and give citizenship and ID cards to those living in Essequibo. At the end of the day of voting, which is yesterday, a Venezuelan electoral body approved the referendum to claim sovereignty over Essequibo, Guyana. In other words, they have made the plans official. Despite only 10.5 million votes were cast. Yeah, not 10.5 million people voted. Well, you could say it's the same thing. Maduro told a crowd that the Venezuelan people have spoken loudly and clearly. Does 10.5 million people or 10.5 million yeses represent a national consensus? when an estimated 20 million people were eligible to vote? Help me make sense of this. Maduro's government has been heavily criticized by local and international bodies such as the United Nations, the Commonwealth Secretariat, and CARICOM for making this move, a move many see as nothing but a show of dictatorship, greed, and disrespect for a sovereign nation who owns this territory and who owned this territory legally since 1899. Guyana is confronted with a leader who has zero respect for himself, his country, the sovereignty of other nations, and most of all, the rule of law. His decision, Maduro's decision, to hold a referendum to take Essequibo without the due process of international law may constitute a violation and can attract severe sanctions from the United Nations. You already know that both Maduro and his vice president, Delcy Rodriguez, have put their own spin on what the World Court's decision means. They claim a landslide victory. If you look at, there's a link above to the top right of the screen, another link. You can watch that video and hear what Delcy Rodriguez was telling the Venezuelan people, which I termed gaslighting, because she misconstrued, misinterpreted, intentionally or not, and fed something to the Venezuelan people other than what the president of the World Court read in court as a part of the decision and the order that says Venezuela should refrain from taking any action that can constitute aggravation or fueling the dispute between itself and Guyana. She also said that that's Delcy Rodriguez. She boasted that Guyana lost and Venezuela won. However, independent thinking Venezuelans can see right through the manipulation of the ICJ order issued to Venezuela, and they did take to social media, actually on YouTube, and there were Venezuelans who are actually against Venezuela attempting to annex Essequibo. All in all, in the full order, the ICJ cautioned both Venezuela and Guyana to maintain the peace. Here's the final takeaway. Venezuela reactivated claim to Essequibo is nothing more than a bare-faced move to steal the oil-rich country, the oil-rich region of Guyana, and efforts by the President Maduro, to gain favor among the voting population for the upcoming national elections. Maduro needs the referendum as an instrument to legitimize and justify the unlawful and forceful annexation of the territory belonging to Guyana since 1899. The dispute over who owns Essequibo dates back to 1899, when the now Guyana was then British Guyana. A final ruling on the border dispute and maritime boundaries may be years away, and in between that time, what will happen is anyone's guess. Venezuela is a very constant threat, and they have declared that they are facing an existential threat from Venezuela, a threat to their sovereignty and independence and peace as a country. Now that the referendum is behind us, people are asking what's next. At a patriotic rally last evening, Guyana's president, Irfan Ali, told citizens to remain calm as the country continues to use diplomacy to resolve the border controversy. I will upload another video which will explore what could happen next. For now, tension is high and people are on edge. In Guyana, of course, and in both countries. And there are Venezuelans in Guyana as well who are uncertain of what will happen. But most of all, the indigenous people, the people in Essequibo, and the indigenous people who really and truly have lived in the hinterland region for many, maybe more than 100 years. And they don't know. They don't know what they will do. So let's send out prayers to Guyana. Let's send out best wishes. And whatever you want to do as a part of either supporting Guyana, if you're supporting Venezuela, this is not a take sides, but this is a clear case to many, even international agencies, that Venezuela is out of place. They are out of place trying to take Guyana's territory. Thank you for visiting or returning to the final takeaway. I hope you're leaving here feeling informed, relieved, or empowered to discuss this issue with others. Here's another chance to subscribe if you haven't yet. Your support is highly appreciated. Join our community and share your comments below. I try to read all of them and respond as soon as possible. Thank you for all of your support, to all of you who have already subscribed and are really showing your support for this channel. That's all for now. See you soon.